He basically left the government's employ. I mean,
Okay, so,
he was on the run, wasn't
yeah,
he?
we go on. Then it becomes he's going back and forth up there, and so March 21st, I'm over at his house, and he's designing a doggy death ray. And a doggy death ray is because the dog, Marilee's dogs, are getting in our flowers, and he's going to design a little amplifier with a high-pitched sound which would keep him out of there. And it's Tuesday the 21st, and I remember watching TV, and it was the day they sent a missile from a boat, and it did loop-de-loops. And Bob said, they're going to test fly tomorrow night. Do you want to go see? And I said, yeah, but where can we go? And he said, I know a back road to the test site without getting on illegal property, still on BLM. We can see it. I said, great. So the next day, he and Gene and his wife, Jackie, I think there was 4 of us, get in my motorhome in the front here, and this was March 22nd. We drive up to Alamo and turn off the road to Rachel, and we're almost up that hillway, and the transmission went out. So, and it's at night, and he said, well, I got to be there at sunset because that's when they test fly. So Gene Huff hitchhiked from where we were stuck back down to Ash Springs, got a couple of cans of transmission oil, brought him back up, we poured them in, and then we continued out. So we got out there just a little after dark, and we went down the back road into Groom Lake, and we went down maybe halfway, and we pulled in this little area, and I took out the telescope, set it up. Bob had the video camera, set it up, and we started looking, and then we saw it. It was like about 9 o'clock. A light comes up and starts going this way and that way and everything, and I'm trying to get this scope, it's
wow.
8-inch diameter lens focused on the UFO, and of course, there's no way. I mean, that thing is, it's too big and too cumbersome. But anyway, at one point, the saucer stopped, and I got it nailed in, and I said, I got it. And that's when I said it was a flying saucer. It was about, maybe 30 to 35, maybe 40, 45 degrees angle. It was yellow and radiating something off it. And I said, I see it. And I said, Gene, quick, take a look. And so as I stepped away, my foot hooked the tripod, and it got out of it, so Gene didn't get to see it. And what it was doing, it was making a descent behind the mountain.
Beautiful.
So then, I'll show you, if we have time here, I have a tape that's labeled March 22nd, and we videotaped all that was going on. Unfortunately, the videotape was sitting on the bumper while all this was going on. But we videotaped afterwards, the conversation about, seeing it. Anyway, the next Wednesday night, they always tested on Wednesday nights and at sunset because they determined that was the time of least traffic on that road, that people could accidentally see the saucer. So the next night was March, 29th, and I was on a trip with American Trans Air in Cleveland, and that was when I called Bob Tuesday night, and I said, I'm in Cleveland, I won't be able to, I said, what are you guys doing? He said, we're going fishing. And I said, oh, cool, I wish I could go. That was the night he took George Knapp and Jim Taliani. Jim Taliani worked at Tonopah Test Range, and that's the week after is when he got fired, because when this tape got out that George Knapp shot, they could hear Jim's voice saying, oh, need, and they called him in, and said, you're in. It may not have been the next week, but it was after that. Then the third Wednesday was April 6th, and that was when me, Bob, Jean, Bob's wife, and her sister rented a car because the motorhome was out and something else was out. We actually had to rent a car and go up there, and that's when we had the Geiger counter and all the video stuff and everything in the trunk. Went up there, got all ready. We were driving in. I said, come on, we don't need to go any farther. Let's stop here. No, let's get closer. And Bob's wife, sister is driving, and that's when we saw, you know, I said at one time it was 4 cars, maybe it was 2, but whatever, there was headlights in front of us. And I said, we got to get out of here. So I told, I forget what her name is, turn around carefully because we're in dust, you know, and sand here and we don't want to get caught. So turned around and we started, you know, hauling ass out of there. And when it was obviously we weren't going to get to the highway before they caught us, so we stopped. Bob says, look, I can't afford to get caught. I'm taking my gun. He had a 9mm. I'm going out in the desert. And he said, when they leave, I'll come back. So we stopped. He goes out in the desert. I take the telescope, start setting it up, and they skid to a stop. And they're all standing around there with the machine guns and port arms. And actually, I ran up to the vehicle. I put my hands on the top of it. What are you guys doing here? What's going on? And they said, we need to see my ID. And I said, yeah, I don't understand. What are you guys chasing us in the desert for? And they said, well, what are you running for? And so things calmed down. We showed our driver's license. They said, you know, they made some calls. They said, look, we can't kick you out of here because it's BLM land. But we make it awful uncomfortable if you stick around here. So, you know, you make your own choice. So they left. We waited about 15 minutes. The trunk was open because I had gotten a telescope out. So we were kind of blinded. We had no idea that all these guys did was go about 100 yards down the road, turn around, set up all their cameras and parabolic recording equipment, and they're recording everything that comes out and goes on. Bob comes out of the desert with his 9mm. He says, you know, it's a good thing they didn't make false moves. I would have blasted them on their smithering. So we talked for about 15 minutes and then pack everything up and, you know, go out. We hit the highway. There's Lincoln County Sheriff. Woo, 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 all the sirens, red lights, everything. Get us out, you know, hands up, hands against the car. It's been about, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. I made the comment that Bob will never ever forgive me for when the sheriff says, I'll need to see licenses. And I said, mine's in the trunk. Of course, everything was in the trunk, including the gun, the Geiger counter, all the video equipment and everything. We never let him in the trunk. He said, all I want to know is, why are there 5 people in this car now? And at the test site, there were only 4. And where's the gun? That's all I want to know. And we spent a good hour hemming and hawing. And at the end of the hour, he gets a call and he says, okay, his name is Lafreniere, Sheriff Lafreniere. He said, I don't know why I've been told to do this, but I've been told to let you guys go. Now, it doesn't make any sense to me, but those are my orders. So he said, I want you to get in that car, and I don't want to see you ever around here again. So we left, driving into town. Now it's, you know, like 11 or 12 o'clock. We discussed, you know, what was going on. And the next day, Bob gets a call from his boss, and I'm trying to remember what his name is. He says, Bob, don't go out to the airport. I'm going to pick you up. And I drove Bob up to Indian Springs, and which is the head of all the test site. And they literally took him out of the car with a gun in his ear, and they took him in there and said, Bob, now, when we gave you a clearance and told you the secret, it didn't mean you were supposed to tell all your friends about the flying saucers. Now, do you want to work here or not? And Bob was non-committal. They had brought the cards that had caught us, or talked to us down to, prove that, that we were there. And Bob was non-committal. And a few days later, he said, I'm not going back to work there. And we said, why? And he said, because the last time I went on that 737, he said, I could remember going up the boarding ramp, and I could remember coming back down the boarding ramp, but I cannot remember anything that went on after that, or between that. And he said, I don't want to work under those conditions. I'd rather not work under those conditions.
Wow.
Even, he said, I know what's going on, and it's great. And he said, but I don't want to work under those circumstances. So that's why I didn't come back.
Okay, well, that's fabulous stuff. I have a question. We met a guy that said underground in Area 51 that I don't know if the guy was like whacked out or what, but he said they have piles of like cocaine, and they're drugging people, you know, to get them to work there. Basically, they fly them in, they give them drugs, they give them women. Do you know anything